If you don't know me, if I haven't met you, because there's a couple people I know in this meeting that have no idea who I am. My name is Graham, and I'm the youth pastor at Real Life Church in Lake Chelan, Washington. I have been a youth pastor for the past almost 13 years. I have led a dozen trips in that time frame, but I have been on a ton of missions trips. I've done 14 missions trips to Mexico. I've done 3 trips to Puerto Rico, 1 to Haiti, 1 to Nicaragua. I've done 3 of them here just in Washington State. And the reason why I say all that is because if you don't know me or you're a parent that's watching, I just want you to know I have some experience doing this. I know that sending your kid out of the state or to another country like we've done in the past can be pretty fearful. I know that as a parent myself, but we've done this quite a bit. And we're really good at it. We have a really good team, and we've never had any major incidents because we just make some really good decisions, and there's a lot of wisdom between us. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. And I've even brought my own kids on a couple of these trips. I brought my oldest 2 kids to Mexico. Actually, my oldest son has been to Mexico twice on missions trips. I just believe that they're safe. We've never had a problem. But I also don't mind being asked any questions about safety. I don't think we can ever think through that enough. I really believe, I've said this to a lot of you guys before, and I really believe it to be true. There's nothing better that a teenager can do in high school than go on a trip like this. There's just not. There's no sport you can play. There's no team you can be on. There's no club you can be a part of. There's no school trip you can do that's going to affect your life like this trip. I guarantee it. Nothing will affect. It's why kids go on these trips again and again and again. Between Bella and Ellie, they've probably been on a dozen trips between the 2 of them as senior girls, and they're still wanting to go on more trips. Most of our kids mention their trips in their senior presentations. I think that's pretty cool because I think it says something, because we're not a part of the school, and yet in the school they want to mention this trip. So I promise there's nothing you can do that's going to affect your life like going on this trip as a teenager. We really see a lot of kids with some life change when they get a little more perspective and see how other people in the world live. And when you take a week and you're challenged and pushed and uncomfortable, you grow. You grow a lot, and it's really, really cool to see. That's why we keep doing them. So if you've tracked with us at all, you know that last year we were planning on going to Alaska and the Kenai Peninsula. That didn't work out for us. So we had to kind of take a U-turn, and we headed over to the Washington coast. That's where we met our friend Cortland at Dunes Bible Camp. And it really was a cool thing. I would encourage you to watch that video from last year. It was an awesome trip for, we didn't know what it was going to be. And it was really an incredible, incredible trip. And so then this year our plan was to turn back around and go back up to Alaska. And that was the plan until about a couple months ago, when we realized that travel to Alaska is really restrictive right now, and it was going to provide a lot more challenges for us. And those challenges were also going to up the cost of the trip. So that meant more hurdles, more fundraising, and then with all the restrictions of COVID right now, fundraising is even more difficult. And we just felt like this is too much to ask. So we started looking into some organizations that stay within the continental United States so that we don't have to do that mandatory COVID test before we leave. And we found a couple of them. The organization we really felt called to partner with is called Kaleo. That's Kaleo. They have a website, kaleomissions.org, that you can go check out also. And they have like 6 different cities in the U.S. that they do mission work with. And in talking with them, we felt like sticking to a city that was in the South would give us better odds of things not closing down again. So we chose their New Orleans location, and I got to hang out or talk with their representative down in New Orleans. His name is Justin Hayes, and he's a church planter. And our conversation was fantastic, and I just loved what he did down there. It just sounded like a great ministry, but also just a lot of fun for us to be a part of. So his church is right outside of the French Quarter. If you don't know where that is, you can Google it. And then the church we'll stay at is right inside of the French Quarter, and which is right downtown New Orleans. I mean, it's right in the heat of everything. And a lot of what Justin's church does is kind of street ministry. So he was telling me that, what are those where you wash your clothes? What's those called? Yeah, everybody's on mute, so nobody can help me. What'd you say, Trista?
Laundromat.
A laundromat, yes, thank you. He says laundromats are like really popular down there, that a lot of people, that's where they do their laundry. So his church people will just go to laundromats with pockets full of quarters, and they will pay for people's laundry. They'll ask if they can help fold. They'll just dive into discussion with them or conversation and hear about their lives. There's laundromats that have like childcare attached to them. And so they'll go into those childcare things and they'll read to kids, stuff like that. He was saying that after big weekends, they'll go out and they'll clean the streets. He told me that whenever it rains in New Orleans, the city floods, not just when there's hurricanes, but all the time. And so it's important to keep the storm drains clear. So whenever it rains, his church goes out and they clean storm drains. And people say, like, what are you guys doing? And then it gives them an opportunity to talk to people and say, hey, here's why we do this, and here's why we think it's important. And it leads to conversations that end up becoming spiritual. So I really liked what he was doing. I don't know that we're going to do those things exactly, but I thought it was really cool to get out there and do something different. I think New Orleans also offers us a different cultural experience than we're used to. You know, especially here in the Lake Chelan Valley, we are almost split white and brown, and that's about the only cultures we have here. So New Orleans is much more of a mixed pot, but especially they have a huge African-American influence down there. And I think it's be a really cool experience for our kids to do that. The other thing I like about New Orleans, there's no COVID restrictions. There's no, I mean, they have kind of the normal ones, but we don't have to take any tests. There's nothing funny like that. And the flights were pretty affordable. So I wanted to keep the price of the trip to around $1,000. I was able to get it down to $1,100. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we break down the paperwork. But that's how we ended up on New Orleans. That's a little bit of what we're going to do while we're down there. I did actually push our trip forward a day. Most groups come in on Sunday, and I asked if we could come in on Saturday night because we're staying at a big black church in the French Quarter. I thought it'd be a really cool experience for us to go to church. So I asked if we could come a day early in order for us to experience that. And they said, absolutely, no problem. So our week will be a little backwards than most missions trips, where our free day will actually be our first day. But I'm a huge fan of experiences and culture. And so I think going to church in the morning is going to be one of the coolest things you guys have ever experienced. I took a African-American preaching class in college, and we got to go to a different church every weekend. And it was one of the best months of my life. It was so much fun. And I've taken some of you guys to Bethel, AME in Spokane, and you guys have liked that as well. So as I said, the trip costs $1,000, or excuse me, costs $1,100. And there's a couple different ways that we're going to help you fundraise that money. The first is we're going to help you write support letters. And we actually came up with a little system last year where you kind of just fill in the blanks. You answer, these certain questions in chunks, and then you can put all those together, and you're going to mail those out to everybody you know and everybody your parents has ever known. And then money's just going to fly in. And it happens every year. We get people who bring in money from all over. We get a kid every single year who pays for their entire trip just with support letters. No matter how much the trip costs, there's always kids who bring in all their money with just support letters. And so we're going to help you do that. And that money goes directly into your account. We don't do like a group pool and then everybody draws from that equally. Your fundraising is on you. So when grandma sends you $100 for this trip, it goes right into your account, nobody else's. The other way is sometimes we have some manual labor that comes up, and we encourage you guys to go find it also. And so people say, hey, can I hire one of the youth group kids who are going on the trip to come, rake these leaves or move these boxes or whatever. And so we just kind of throw those out, and that's a way to do it. But our big fundraiser has been our yard sale that we've done for the past few years. Again, it's something that we pay you based on the amount of work that you do. So it's not a pool and everybody gets an equal amount. We keep track of your hours, and we say, hey, this is how much money we raised. This is how many hours were worked total. So we were able to pay everybody, X amount. The lowest we've paid people is $15 an hour. The most we've paid them is $50 an hour. And that sounds like I'm making it up, but it's not. We have been able to pay people $50 an hour for their work at the yard sales. But they only get paid for the hours they work. So not positive what that's going to look like this year. Last year we had to also call an audible, and we did 10 yard sales instead of just one giant one. I really hope we don't have to do that again this year because it was a lot more work. But if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. We raised $13,000, and if that's what we got to do, then we'll do that. There's other ways you can raise money. I mean, if you just want to work your summer job and cut a check, you can totally do that. If you want to work for grandma, or you want to go door to door and you want to ask, if you can do any favors for people in your neighborhood, great. But those are the three kind of fundraising ways that we help you guys. But you can find a ton of different ways. So let me go to I'm going to try to do this. Man, I wish I was better at this stuff. I don't think you need to hear the sound of a document. Okay, can you see that? Now I can't see anybody, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you so much. Luke, you get a gold star today, buddy. I don't know where you're at or who painted that wall orange though, so I'm demoting you a half star for that weird paint job. Okay, so this is the packet that you can find on our website, reallifencw.com. You can download it there. If you go to Manson, Trista, also known as Mrs. Walters, has packets of them there. If you go to Chelan School District, Jeff Pearl has packets of them there. But again, they are on our website. I actually have a bunch of them outside my office also. If you're downtown doing something, you want to stop by and get them here because you don't have any ink in your printer, whatever. Just come and get them.
Hey, Graham.
Yes.
Decker's trying to get in.
Oh, Decker. He's always causing trouble. Okay, well, Decker. You know what? I shouldn't even let him in because he's late. Oh, there you are, Mr. Marlin. Okay, Decker, you're lucky I like you so much. Okay, so I've already told you where we're going and the cost of the trip. The dates are August 7th through the 13th. Again, that's a Saturday through a Friday, so it's actually only 6 days. I told you we're going to spend our time with Kaleo Missions and helping out our new friend Justin Hayes. Then up here you can see that there are 4 mandatory meetings. And I give you all these ahead of time so that if you have a summer camp or a sports camp or a job, you can tell your employer or you can tell your coach that you can't be a part of that, or that you need to be back by a certain time, by 3 o'clock, because these are our 4 mandatory meetings. And they really are mandatory. And it's not because I want to be a jerk or I want people to come to my meetings. It's because when kids don't know what's going on in the trip, it just causes so much headache when we're down there. I've just learned this lesson the hard way. Let's just say that. Kids don't know what to pack. They don't know what to prepare for. They don't know different rules we have set up for our group, and it just doesn't make any sense. So these are our 4 mandatory meetings. They are all from 3 to 5 p.m. Those things you can mark down. As far as their location, I don't know what to tell you yet. I'll make that decision at the very beginning of March, where our first meeting will be. There's a good chance they'll still just be on Zoom, but I really hope not. I think that there's a way for us to be able to meet in person here in Chelan. So, okay, what is this junk? Now it's, get this out of here. Okay, to apply, there are, what?
Since I don't live in Chelan or anything, can I zoom into those mandatory meetings?
Probably. Let me think about it. Let me, I'm going to give you a 90% yes.
Okay.
If I think of a reason that would make sense that maybe you have to be here for some reason, then we could do that.
Okay.
I kind of think this first one's probably going to be on Zoom anyways. I really hope not. But just with current restrictions and the fact that we don't have a church building, makes it even harder. So I'm going to write that down, Cortland, and I will get back to you. Okay, so you need a few different documents here to apply for the trip. They are all a part of this packet, so when you download it, you get all of them. One of them is you need to return all this stuff to Jeff Pearl or Trista Walters. You can do either of those. You can drop it off here at the office also. If no one's here, slide under the door. And we do need a $300 deposit. And that's because there's things I have to buy right away for you to go on the trip. Okay, admitting more people. There we go. So there is a $300 deposit. If that's a problem, if you're saying, Graham, I really want to go on this trip, but there's no way my parents can come up with $300, I just need you to call me and we'll have a conversation. We will find a way for you to go on this trip. All right. Don't let that deposit deter you. But also that $300 goes towards your $1,100. So once you've paid that, you only owe $800. Then there's 2 pages of an application. Some of that is just information I need to be able to get you tickets. Some of it helps me better understand who you are if I don't know you or know you very well. Then there's 1 page that's a waiver. It's just like if you were going on a school trip or something, just something your parents sign. And then Kaleo Missions also has a waiver, and they want a little bit of information as well. Then I need a colored copy of a government-issued ID. So that can be a driver's license, that can be a passport, that can be a government ID card. They do those. They kind of look like driver's license, but they're not. They're not. And I need a color copy of it. And the reason why that is because if we go somewhere, or if we go to New Orleans and you lose your ID while you're down there, this will make it so much easier for us to get you on the plane to bring you back. And it's happened before. All these lessons we've learned the hard way. All these lessons we've learned the hard way. So a color copy, also with your paperwork. And again, you can return all these to Jeff, you can return it to Trista, or you can drop it off at the Real Life office. Starting at the beginning of February, my family and I are leaving the country for a little while. So you won't be able to get a hold of me. And it's why I've given you Jeff Pearl's number. He says you can call him at any hour of the day. Any hour, he said. So go ahead and call him in the middle of the night with all of your questions. And I already told you here that raising the money is up to you, up to each trip member. That's just how we do it, and it seems to work really well for us. So you got your application. I do need your full legal name. So that, yes, that includes your middle name. If you maybe are Hispanic and you don't have a middle name, but you have 2 last names, I need that. Or if you do have a middle name and 2 last names, I just need whatever it is that is on your birth certificate, or your actually your driver's license or your passport. Your ticket has to match that. And your date of birth. Again, those 2 things, if I don't have those, I can't buy you a plane ticket. What else do I need in here? Nothing too crazy. Again, a lot of this stuff is just whatever. It's just stuff, boring stuff that I have to know for the trip. And that is that. Now, all of this is due. We'll go back up here to the top. All of this is due. Oh, where did I put that? Uh-oh, maybe I didn't put it in here. It is due. Oh, I did right here on February 15th. So that gives you just under a month to get all this. That should be plenty easy. If you decide you want to go get a passport, which I don't think is a bad idea. I think everybody should have a passport. And you want to use that as your government ID, you can wait and get that to me later, but I do need everything else by the 15th. Cortland, I feel like you're going to ask me another question. No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh. Okay.
Where do we mail her stuff to you? Can we email it?
Yep. Either one will work. I don't know why email wouldn't work if you want to do that. Or you can mail it. All that information is on our website. My email address and the church mailing address is all on here. So yeah, if you want to mail your stuff in or you want to email it to me, that would work perfectly.
Okay.
Other questions so far? Can't really tell if people are listening or not, but okay. What did I want to say next? Oh, we will take pretty much anybody who is 8th through 12th grade. That is our restrictions. That's our age limit right now. I have had a ton of interest in people being leaders already and stuff. So I think we're going to be good on that. I know that there's a couple of you guys that don't live in our valley here, and that is okay. I will prioritize our kids in the valley first, but I think we're going to have enough room for everybody to be a part of this. My goal is to never say no to a kid on a mission trip because, again, I think it's one of the best things you're going to do. So that is my goal. But if you're like, my 25-year-old cousin heard about this trip and has never been to New Orleans, can he go? No. Sounds sketchy. So it just doesn't, it's just not a good idea. This is a trip for teenagers and we design it for teenagers. And I don't want to mess that up too much. All right. Other questions? Questions about paperwork? Questions about money? Questions about fundraising?
I have a question.
Yes, Luke.
How many kids can we take? Like, is there a set number or what?
Yeah, I believe we can take 42 people total, but I have to have an adult for every 5 kids. So I think that ends up being like maybe 30 to 32 kids total, which would be fantastic. I mean, last year we were going to take 30 to Alaska, and that was going to be the most we've ever taken of teenagers. So that was going to be really cool. But the other thing I would encourage you guys to do is, go to Kaleo's website and watch their video. I would show it to you, but obviously I don't know how to do that. So you can see a little bit more about what they do. And they have different videos on each one of their sites. They have, again, like 6 or 7 different locations, and you can watch all those. Other questions?
What airport are we flying out of?
That's a great question, Cortland. I'll even back up a little bit more than that. So what we'll do, Cortland, is we will leave Chelan. We take a charter bus over to Seattle. In Seattle, we will fly from SeaTac right into New Orleans, so it's only one flight. And then at the New Orleans airport, we will rent vans, and we will use those throughout the week. And then the way we get back is just that way in reverse. The nice thing is that we don't have to leave too early in the morning this time. Sometimes we've had to leave here at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Doesn't make for a very fun start to the day, but I don't think I have those notes in front of me. Maybe I have them here. as far as when we will be leaving. But I want to say it's around 9 in the morning, so it's actually pretty doable this time. So that was a great question. Let me see. Oh yeah, our flight doesn't leave Seattle until 5:40 at night. Usually we leave about 6 hours before our flight, so we won't have to leave until about 11:30 or noon, actually. So that is fantastic. We do get into New Orleans super late. It's going to be midnight their time, but they are 2 hours ahead of us, so our bodies will think it's 10. But yeah, the day of travel is it's a long, tough day, but this is probably one of the easier ones. So I think it actually took us longer to get to Dunes than it did to get to New Orleans. So other questions?
When are we going to get a packing list?
Packing list. You will get that in your manual. Your manual will probably be given to you in our second meeting in April. And quite honestly, we won't go over the packing list until our third or maybe even fourth meeting. Our highest priorities at the beginning are for us to get to know each other, because we're going to spend a week in close quarters together. And then our second priority is fundraising, because if we don't do that, we don't go on the trip. And then at the very end is kind of when all the little details come together. That's usually when I find out what kind of projects we'll be doing, what kind of ministries we'll be involved in. And then that's also when we start talking about what to pack and stuff like that. And because this is a new location, I have to do a lot more work to the manual. If you remember last year, we had our manual was like 3 different manuals combined into one, because it was like still some Puerto Rico stuff, still some Alaska stuff, and then it was like, oh yeah, now we're going to Dune. So, and I just gave it to you guys because I was like, I don't know where we're going. This year we'll have a New Orleans manual. So last year there was just too many changes, but it takes a while for me to put all that together. I will say this, Luke, everybody I've talked to that's been to New Orleans in August says you better get ready for some heat and humidity. So you can start packing accordingly. That was a good question, though. Anybody else got questions?
Hi.
Hi, Bella.
We have a question. If are we bringing a cook or are they cooking for us?
Like at Dunes,
Why does that matter?
It was Ellie's question. She didn't want to ask.
Just kidding. They have some interns. They hire interns every summer, and then they have Pastor Justin, his wife, also works along with him. They do all the cooking for us. And I'm told, because I if you know me, I like to experience culture through food. I've told that they try to do as much Southern cooking as possible. So knowing that you're cooking for a big group, you can't just do whatever, but they too want to give us an experience through our stomachs. So they will do all the cooking. You will be in charge of your meals while we're traveling. So the one travel day down there and the one travel day back.
Wait, I have one more question.
Okay.
Yep.
How does us getting there at midnight work? Are we getting to the camp at 1 a.m? I know you probably don't have all these details yet, but how is that?
I imagine we will probably be laying our heads on our pillows at probably 1:30 in the morning, if I had to take a guess.
Cool. Sounds good.
So it was either that or we take a red eye and get there at 6 a.m. So when you're flying across the country, you don't have a lot of options. So, yep. But again, our bodies will be 2 hours behind. So for us, it'll feel more like 10. But yeah, it's going to be that's also the nice thing about having that kind of rest day first, is we can kind of catch up and kind of get more acclimated. So other questions. I need that Jeopardy music playing in the background right now. All right. Well, as I said, I've been recording this. I'm going to put this on our YouTube page tomorrow, and I'll have links to it on our other social medias. You can get the paperwork again. It's here at the office. You can get it from Mrs. Walters. You can get it from Mr. Pearl. You can get it online. It is due back by February 15th. You could turn in tomorrow if you want to. It is due back by February 15th with a $300 deposit. You also need a color copy of your ID. If you don't have a color printer, you live here in town, just come find me at the office and we can do it here. If that deposit is a problem, if you're saying, I really want to go on this trip, but there's no way we can just come up with $300, then give me a phone call and we'll talk about it and we'll make it work. Other than that, Jeff Pearl knows absolutely everything. If you keep calling me and it's February and I'm not answering, it's because I'm not in this country, literally. So Pearl can answer any of your questions at that point. And then if there's something he can't answer, we can talk about it when I get back from our trip. I'm going to stay on Zoom a little longer. If you are like, your heart's content, you're tired of staring at my face and you want to turn on Netflix, go right ahead. If you have some other questions, or you just miss Cortland and want to stay on to hang out with her, we can do that as well. So peace out. I hope to see all of you guys signed up and a couple more of your friends as well. And again, I'm going to stay on. If you have any questions, feel free to shout them out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know who said that, but you are welcome. See you, Jared. Go check out Jared's video. I wish I could figure out how to do it.
Hey, Graham, this is Brittany, and I thought of a question. Sorry.
Everton.
Yes.
Yes.
The deposit. What if for some reason say he gets sick or something like that and he can't go? Is that refundable or is that $300 non-refundable?
I try to refund what I can.
Yeah,
it depends on when he backs out. So last year was a weird year, and I was trying to, any kid that backed out, even just for fear or sickness or whatever it was, I just tried to give them as much money as I could. But some of the money, there was a girl who backed out 3 days before we left, and the money is spent at that point. So I try to get you back as much money as you can. Sometimes though, I will just say, hey, you got to wait till this trip is done. I got to focus on the kids who are on this trip, because especially when we get down to the wire, there's just a lot going on. But
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, luckily, because it's not an international flight. International flights, they make us pay a hefty deposit down on our tickets, but I believe our deposit is only $50 on these tickets. So that's the only money I put up right away, and then the airlines will make me pay a little more as we go along further, and then at some point the organization will say, hey, we need some money because we're going to buy food. Yeah, it just depends on where we're at.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Hopefully that won't be an issue. So
I hope not. I hope you're not planning on getting sick, Gabe.
No, I was just, you know what, this year, who knows what will happen. So
who knows? So, yep. And Jared put a link to his video in the chat if you can figure out how to do that too. All right. I'm going to end this meeting. Again, you can always just direct people to me, and they can ask me questions. All right, Decker, it was really good to see your face. All right.
Bye.
Looking good, Decker.
Oh, Decker's always looking good. That's the problem. That's how he has a girlfriend now. Did you know
Hey,
that?
I get it. He didn't want to distract the group with his face.
That's probably what it was. That's probably what it was. All right. Well, I'll see you guys.